Hello, grade 5. Here are the answers. So question 1 was Brianna cuts a wood for fire. She can cut a log into thirds in 10 minutes. How long would it take Brianna to cut a similar log into 6? Well, we know that thirds would require 2 cuts, right? The log cut in twice would give 3 pieces. So each cut took 5 minutes if it was 2, because there was 10 minutes that it took her. So to cut the log into 6, you got to visualize that. How many cuts would that be? So it'd be actually 5 cuts. If you took a log and you cut it up into 6 pieces, it only takes 5 cuts, and then the answer would be 25 minutes. 5 times 5 is 25, because we know that for 1 cut it takes 5, so for 5 it would take 25. Question 2. So this is kind of a newer type of question. As it gets to the 3500ths, and this is something I would have noticed in the class, but I didn't notice last night when I was doing these. The 3500ths, really, you can visualize that by drawing the 10 meter by 10 meter rectangular garden. So if you look on the left, each box represents 1 meter, so a 10 by 10 grid. 2/10 of the garden are squash. So if we have 100 squares there, 2 out of the 10 are going to be squash, which converts over to 20 squares when you have 100 squares. So an equivalent fraction to 2/10 is 20 over 100, so 20 squares. 3500ths of the garden are beans. So this is something when we get into decimals here that we're going to be working with a lot. This language, and I'm not exactly sure why it's introduced right now in the textbook. So 3500ths would be 35 squares, because 100ths represents 100 squares in a fraction. So you can see the B for beans is 35. And the rest is planted with flowers. Oops, and I skipped the corn, so 1/4 of 100. Okay, if we divide 100 by 4 is 25, so it'd be 25 corn. We said 20 squash, 35 beans, and then the rest are flowers. So just by process of elimination, you get the flower amount, filling in the rest of the grid. Question 3. A snail is trying to reach a leaf 8 meters away. The snail crawls 4 meters on the first day. Each day after that, it crawls 1/2 as far as the previous day. After the 4th day, has the snail reached the leaf? So the answer is no. And if you look below, after 4 days, they do the calculations for you. Starts with 4. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 2 is 1. Remember, we have to go 8 meters in 4 days. So we're already on a 3rd day, and we're up to 4 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 7. Half of 1 is 1/2 of a meter. So the snail ends up traveling 7 and 1/2 meters, which actually is not 8 meters. So he doesn't reach the leaf in time. These are a little bit trickier application questions. It's okay if they were difficult. They're a little bit of quite a bit of critical thinking to do some of these questions, especially with the 100 grid there. Once you see it visualized, it really kind of makes sense, because you've worked with the 100 chart before in previous grades. It's the same thing, right? Just with the numbers removed. All right, so we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good evening.